experienced the Zach top yesterday. The Darius looked very good into it, and he was significantly more relevant across almost the entire game. You can see what Mirren wanted to accomplish. We saw what Broken Blade was able to do with it. It's a great engage pick. But in terms of individual contribution outside of a team fight, it can often struggle. The Maokai, again, a flex pick for G2. They could just go for Senna Maokai again, as they did against Giant X. We'll see if Fnatic want to contest that Senna pick at all, or if they're willing to just let that one slide through.
Yeah, I am curious though what Noah's game plan is going to be into this bottom side of the map, because with Varus and also the Felio's taken off the board, we've seen him go back towards things like he's tried the Lucian, he tried the Kalista, but they banned away. So it is just going to be take away that Senna instead and make sure you're comfortable. And then Razork going for the Xin Zhao. I like when Razork is on these more, I want to say like playmaky, but it's more like skirmish heavy junglers, because he can get in your face and actually make the early game swing in your favor.
And Lucian now locked in alongside Nami.
How are you feeling, Dracos?
Like this champion is fake and only wins scrims unless you exist in the LPL or LCK, but G2 could prove us wrong. So far, the only team to win on Lucian in our league, regardless of position, is SK Gaming. They tried yesterday to repeat that and were unable to do so. So in general, I think this champion requires a very high level of execution. Certainly something G2 esports are capable of, but I will be skeptical until they can prove me wrong here.
Yeah, at least having the Nautilus there as well means you can try and play aggressive down in this bot side. Like if Razork has the setup there from Jun, who I think Jun has had a pretty great entry into the LEC. I think he's looked really strong. So I think it's a case of, can we try and play aggressive, get that set up there like we saw yesterday for Fnatic and punish the bot lane? Because I definitely think we've seen Hansam and Mickey be over-aggressive in this matchup, where there's no need for them to maybe aggress in a wave, especially if Yike is going for something like Void Grubs or playing elsewhere on the map. So if you can have that control for Fnatic, that is the best way to try and fight against G2.
Certainly is. And obviously, if we look at international expectations for this duo bot lane for G2, if they're able to get ahead, if they're able to skirmish well together, it can take over a game. But when you look in terms of like the floor of what a Senna Nautilus can bring together, it's just much higher. You have so much guaranteed utility, guaranteed scaling. You're really set up for success as we go later into the game. And you know, when paired with Razork having this early aggressive jungle option, I definitely like it. That said, Hui now banned away alongside the Akali. Darius getting banned out too. Respect over to potential counter picks. It may be another Zac angle. Again, the more room that Lucian kind of has to play in these fights, the more threats there are to run forward to give him space. I think the easier it's going to be for Hansama.
Yeah, surprised to see the Narban. I know it's just kind of like, hey, what are the blindable top laners here that Oscarden could go for? They'd end up going with the Yasuo into it yesterday for BB. Obviously, you wouldn't get the counter pick there, so maybe they are just worried, but I think they were surprised by these here. It felt like they were setting up more for their own top lane pick here.
Well, it could also be that they're just trying to take away the safe or the blind picks that Oscar can go for, to force Humanoid to pick on 4, to make sure that Caps can get counter pick. I mean, no matter what they take away there, someone is getting counter pick. Maybe they feel like Caps, it's a bigger priority for Caps, and that's why they're limiting the top lane pool.
Yeah, maybe it is just going to go for the Zac, or you could potentially see something like a Cassante come through here for BB. Just be like, hey, that is the other big pick that we see an awful lot of the times, but and maybe the Zac, the Darius, and the Gnar work.
I thought the Aatrox looked okay into it, but I didn't love it. Once you get a single item, it definitely starts to feel a lot better, but early on, if LeBlanc runs up to the top side, a lot can change very quickly. That said, Maokai Zac, that's a very low damage combo. That is not very scary without any more support.
This is sick though. Poppy angle is perfect here. The fact you've got pretty much every champion here has a dash that you could interrupt. You got great frontline access. You've already got your engage from the Nautilus. Like, this is really, really nice here for Oscar. And so honestly, looking at what has been drafted so far, I like what Fnatic are bringing to the table. I think they've got great scaling opportunities. They got good skirmish. They got good push in mid lane as well. Like,
also, this
nice stuff.
This is an insane game for Merc Treads. Look at the G2 top side. Yes, Caps is one of the few people in the world still going for the Energizer build, but you need magic damage if you're G2 esports. If the enemy team just goes Merc Treads full armor, Caps does decide to go for the Energizer build, you're never going to kill that Poppy, you know? So it's kind of a tricky thing to navigate. I think Caps has to go AP this game, but now you have essentially triple AP topside, and it makes it really easy for the enemy team to itemize.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we will see early Merc Threads, maybe even something like a Hollow Radiance early here for Oscarden as well. Just he gets that push against the Zac, and he's going to be fine with the AP damage. Now, obviously, a lot of the Energizer stuff as well has that, like, magic damage on it. Like, the Shock is an energizing magic damage shot, so you still deal mixed damage here.
Hans can go Static Shift, man. We can start putting together every item in the game that does a tiny bit of magic damage, and by our powers combined, assemble. It is fleet footwork for Caps, so we'll have to see what the itemization choice is going to be. Fans in Berlin coming alive on both sides. Vector's G2. Age-old matchup. Here we are, getting into game one. And a reminder, what is on the line today? A spot in the top 4. Both these teams keen to get there. Getting into best of 5 with your extra life still intact in this double elimination bracket is huge. It's a massive boon as we go further into the winter split.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
It is a Doran's Blade start for Caps. That doesn't necessarily mean that he will go full AD LeBlanc, but since he also has attack speed, I'm pretty sure we're getting an Energizer LeBlanc. He has been the only person in our league since it was adjusted on 14.1b to continue really to play it and find success with it, but it has looked very good, so I can't knock it.
Yeah, I mean, it has been pretty strong. Knight and Stuffer are still playing over in the LPL, so I still think it has opportunities to be brought out. I still think it has its hold, but the thing I'm going to focus on is, because I actually missed the double Doran start yesterday for the bot lane with Hilly, is actually a double Doran start here for Fnatic's bot lane. So very much going to go for, hey, we want to try and play hyper aggressive on these early stages, use the fact we got the extra health and we've got the extra AP on this Nautilus to win the lane in these early couple of levels, and then you do reset. You end up taking your support item a little bit later, but it doesn't hinder you too much. It does mean that you just get a ton of opportunity to play aggro in this bot side. Realistically, you're able to stack your support item so quickly now you don't have to worry about it, but you see already they're going for it.
Mickey Hook there. A little bit of damage now coming through, of course, with all that extra HP. Fnatic are favored on the all-in, but it can be a bit tricky to navigate. You highlighted it. You lose out on a lot of gold income for Jun, but you can buy that item a little bit later. The trade-off, early power, but how will they leverage it, the bigger question.
Yeah, it has to be trying to get this push early, kind of use the fact you have that extra health to hit level 2. You look for the all-in, you've already got the Ignite, double combat summoner spells and try and win, but you can see Hans Sama already opting in towards the barrier as well, means he'll have a little bit more protection in this lane. So, we'll have to see if you get that value out of the double Dorans in this spot lane.
Caps and Humanoid just trading lots of autos here as well. Level 2 coming in for Caps a little bit later, but able to get the distortion for some extra damage. Hans Sama stepping up. Sidestep is nice on a potential route from Noah.
A little unfortunate there. Jun ended up hooking the minion. So I think it was hook the minion into the route, and then that would have been maybe a very dead Lucian, but not quite the case a little bit early on. So not too bad as a start here for G2 on the bot side. They're still going to be ramping up and hitting their spikes nice and early if they're able to stay and kind of hinder the early game aggression that this double Doran's buys. But if we look towards the rest of the map, both junglers making their way down here. Looks like they are both going to go for full clears, so maybe a bit of a scrap over the scuttle on this bottom side of the map, but Caps has a decent amount of control over mid lane, and you look towards the control that Hans and Mickey have in the bot lane now, especially when they toss over to level 3. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to try and win out on this bot side.
Yeah, we'll get tricky to navigate. And again, Lucian and Nami, kind of the champions that one item especially is where they really start to feel super oppressive if you're able to leverage your advantage. A lot of teams haven't been able to find that advantage early on. Now, the good news for G2, of course, is they're not in the situation that we saw yesterday for SK. They're not playing against a Varus Ashe bot lane. They are favored to get pushed, to get prio here, to kind of be able to dictate the pace of this lane to a certain degree until Razork chooses to show his face here. But for now, sitting pretty comfortable. And it is Doran's ring start for Lucian. Not completely uncommon as Mickey is going to be forced to flash out. Yike on the way in. Bubble going to get flashed away from as well, so just a trade. But now Hans Sama can step forward up into Noah. Yike going through there, just trying to finish out jump before the fight gets kicked off. But Hans Sama getting locked in by the hook. The heal now coming through. Just still living for just a brief moment. Hans Sama running for the hills. Blinking health bar, but he's still alive. Noah going to get taken down by the fish. Oh, man. Razork trying to clean up as best he can, but Hans Sama's got to run for the hills. He has to get the hell out. Respects the dash. Messy exchange on the bottom side, but 2-1 in kills.
Bit of a miscommunication from G2. Hans Sama dashed forward onto Noah to try and kill him, whereas the rest of G2 were trying to turn on towards dash onto other members. So at the end of the day, it means that you're still able to bring it back here as G2, as Oscar and taking a little bit of a worse for wear. Ganking mid here for Razork as well, though.
Yeah, not going to amount to too much. Yike is, of course, covering in the area. Caps does have to be careful because of the burst damage of Xin, but while Razork doesn't have to be scared at this point, Caps can certainly just continue to be a nuisance.
Good read from Razork, though. It was like, why is Caps sticking around? There has to be a jungler here nearby, so ends up just backing away. Going to start moving down towards his bot side again, just to get some vision control, and I imagine just to cover this push on bot lane, because you can kind of see where the wave is at the moment. Fnatic have control of that, so going to just try and keep that freeze there. and at least having your jungler down there means that you don't have to worry about anyone else. But you can see here, so Mickey forced the flash, and I don't mind this at the get-go, like you force Jun into the overextension, but look, Hans goes on to Noah, while the other members of G2 are starting to move up towards Jun, who has no flash. So even with the barrier, the heal comes through on Jun, which means that Hans has to overextend, and Yike just barely keeps him alive, but it still ends up being valuable for G2 in the end. Like, they get Noah, they also get Jun as well, so it is a big trade for G2, just a little messy on the get-go.
Yeah, and I think they're fortunate that Noah decided to flash in to kind of, from his perspective, obviously, it felt like he could turn the trade, but Hansama getting out of sight just in time could have been much dicier, but Senna, because she, I would say in that context, overcommits. Obviously, hindsight is always going to be 20/20, but not really able to get more since Noah ends up giving his life when he had already gotten out for free, essentially. But wanted to trade back, and it makes sense. Always good to kind of stymie the early game of these two champions together. Currently about a 500 gold lead individually for Hansama. Mickey getting gold isn't bad either. There's a lot of supports where that's pretty unoptimal, but an earlier mandate is always going to be a big thing.
Good hook.
Hansama rooted up here, bubble connecting, stopping the fall. Well played from Mickey.
Yeah, I think like your Nautilus can actually do quite a bit with gold. He ends up in a pretty decent spot. So I'm not surprised to see the Senna kind of opt in towards the fasting Senna, but
yeah.
Here we go.
Another root coming in. Razork on the way forward. When becomes lightning does connect, but Razork doesn't want to fully go in on the play. Caps continuing to trade with Humanoid. So hard for Humanoid to do anything of his own volition in this lane. Kind of has to wait for Caps to kick things off. Always tricky to get aggressive against LeBlanc.
Yeah, especially because a lot of the Azirs now aren't opting in towards, because you're not going Lost Chapter early. You're not going for like a Ludens or a Leandri's, well, it used to be it's always Nashor's Tooth first. So you end up with, if you spend a lot of mana on your Q to try and maneuver those soldiers around, you just boom incredibly quickly. So it makes things a little bit easier for Caps in this matchup. And he's just having a field day with it. And even then, it only starts to get worse as you start to get those energized stacks off, because you W in, get auto, you hop back out. It's really annoying.
I mean, you've got a champion who, in AD LeBlanc, who, yes, obviously wants to use her abilities for wave clear and to optimize her trades, but Azir is entirely reliant on them for damage as well, which the AD LeBlanc is not. So always just going to feel easier to be on the LeBlanc side of these trades, at least until there's more items under the belt of the Azir. Yike starting up the grubs here. Razork in the area, red buff there. Stacking up the 3-point strike, but won't get anything else. And just a single grub taken away.
Razork's been doing a good job of keeping track of where Yike is, though. I mean, as you look towards that bot lane, Razork poked his head in, managed to get Mickey to push off, and it also scared Yike off the dragon. Now as you move up towards Void Grubs, he's like, okay, cool, I'm here to make sure you're not doing anything funky. So one Void Grub does go across, but if you can even just deny one here as Razork, you're in good shape. BB's starting to roam down, though, which is going to force Razork away from the Void Grubs as well. So maybe Yike will start to feel a little bit more capable of going for something in that top side of the map, but it just feels like at the moment G2 are playing very, very slow in trying to look off of wave states to get objectives, but the wave states aren't really in their favor, or they're not able to commit as much as they would like.
Ooh, Caps marked there, but actually only the clone going to get the mark from the Winds Becomes Lightning, stopping the potential follow-up.
Nearly hit him with that one. Even though
Root now going in, Caps can just go right back. Yike there in the area to try and protect, but guys are debating where they actually want to focus. Doesn't quite have the knock-up. He's going to be forced to use it on the creep, and Caps will make it out alive. Doesn't have TP, though, then that's big. No wave push, though. Humanoid not pulling Razork up. Instead, I think the focus is going to be on the dragon here.
Yeah, Caps just able to get just out of range of the ultimate from Razork, so he's trying to knock back Yike to then turn onto Caps and keep everything in check, but still control in the mid lane, going in favor of Fnatic, which means Dragon with the push on bot side will also go in favor of them. So even though it's been a lot of G2 trying to poke their heads in and see what they can do, they do have control over bot side with the kills, but at least objective control, Fnatic have been able to match a lot of what G2 want to do.
Thus far they have level 6 for Jun,
That's
but now a bit of
Jun.
an all-in here. Mickey, I think, accidentally E-ing himself in that trade.
So the level 6 hit, you don't, still level 5 on bot side. If this wave hits, they will hit 6 on bot lane.
Yeah, you can see G2 are stepping forward to try to make sure the wave is cleared. Flash engage onto Mickey, should just be one very dead fish. Nice flash out safety, but it will not stop the play from coming through. Hansama has the calling up and available and is trying to clear out Razork, but Noah is there to body block, continuing to step up. Looking to get a little bit more damage down, forcing out the heal at the very least, but Caps is here as well. Fnatic need to get out alive if they want to make this play work. Caps continuing to jump in, double distortion, not a whole ton of damage there. And that's a purely Fnatic favored exchange.
Big win for Fnatic on the bottom side, getting control there. Humanoid as well, getting some good damage on towards Yike. Got to play for himself off that as well, so you're going to force Yike kind of back out of position. So at the moment, Fnatic, yes, they have to burn all their summoner spells, so maybe there's an angle for Yike to punish at a later state, but at the moment, it's going to be them answering back for some of the deficit that's there, but you can still see 900 gold in favor of Hans Sama. Well, the kills and everything else is kind of helping.
It's tricky because we kind of need to swap them, because the Sen is obviously not farming, but Nautilus only has 96 gold over Mickey, and Mickey's got a mandate now, so individually, hard to make the comparison. Bot lane as a whole, very G2 favored, because while Hans Sama is struggling with bits and pieces, mandate is going to be a huge spike in their all-in damage.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's where kind of you can see the massive differences, and I think as we start to move on, it's going to be a case of trying to get G2 to play more heavily down towards that bot side. Caps now got to very quickly finish off that static shiv. He's going to have more control over mid, and then you can just continue to make these roams down towards the bottom side of the map and make sure you're in an okay spot alone.
No, in the area. Ulti not going to connect. Humanoid, I think, thought he had the timing, but Caps with just a sliver of a second left on the ability to reposition there.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing these two goes up against each other. These are like two of the, over the last couple of years, top performing mid laners in the league. So it's kind of cool to get every time you see them match up against each other.
Well, and the thing is like, while they both, well, hold that thought, as Hans Sama's just a little bit of aggressive trading here. You know, we didn't get to always see peak Caps last year, and we don't always get to see peak Humanoid, but when they play against each other, I feel like they always show up. See what it's going to look like as we get later into the game. For now, LeBlanc certainly, you can see, more tools, more dashes, much easier for her to kind of dance around the Azir at this point of the game.
I think that's the thing that with G2 as well, is that because they have so many of these unique picks in their arsenal, it makes it very tough to try and draft against them. Like, Caps is the only person playing AD LeBlanc. BB,
yeah, like you look at you look at the international people playing it, it's like Angel, Knight, Caps.
Yeah.
You know, in major leagues. And I haven't checked since last week, so maybe there's been some other performances elsewhere, but ultimately it's like, okay, if there's only, probably this is still a problem if 3 people in the world are still making this work.
Yeah, it can be very, very terrifying when you do get some early control. And again, it just gives you so much push in lane to then start to do things like this. Where you're like, cool, I know that Caps can join first, so in a situation where I'm against Zinzao, I have that help. And now they're looking for the dive. Remember, no summoner spells on bot lane. That's the timer G2 are trying to work off of, but Razork is here to cover again.
TP now coming in. All 5 members of G2 committed to the bottom side, looking to make this play happen. Colin going down. Yike managing to grab the kill, creating a little bit of space is Razor. Caps now trying to go into finish with the support. Jun getting cut down there. BB there just in time to back up the dive. Hans Sama getting the kill on Razor.
The tower aggro trading was so well executed by G2. Everyone just sitting there until they could just about get away with it. And BB, look, yes, you'll lose some aggression on top side and lose some of those third plates, but he doesn't mind. In the grand scheme of things, getting Lucian ahead is much bigger on their agenda.
I mean, that's a 1.5 item Lucian at this point in the game, which is going to be very tough to deal with. Fnatic chance and G2 chance coming out. Fnatic looking to rally their boys on the back of that trade. It is a 2k gold lead for G2, a tough position to be in. I think the hard thing is you left the Poppy unattended top side. It just doesn't matter much, but the TP advantage from Broken Blade being leveraged well here.
And this is the problem, is that Razork still had the ultimate, but wasn't able to really get into it. Now watch Mickey, he tanks 2 shots, then you get Yike who takes up aggro instead. He just plays on the edge of it, and it's just perfectly executed. Like, everyone kind of knew how much damage they could take on that trade, and it means that no man gets left behind underneath the tower to give anything back to Fnatic.
Yep. Clean calls, good discipline around the dive. Sama still has to be careful here. Definitely ahead of the clock in terms of comparisons to Noah and Jun, but Zen always going to be a bit of a terrifying prospect. All right, so far 3 grubs for the side of G2. Kind of surprised when you saw the first one went down, but they were able to grab all 3. Fnatic would like to stymie that at least a little bit, but Oscar already getting bullied out. G2 have swapped lanes here, leaving Broken Blade to kind of wander through the enemy jungle, steal camps, lay down vision, and just be a general nuisance.
Yeah, I think, though, this is where you start to have issues here for Fnatic, because with how far ahead this Lucian is, he's going to become a major issue on side lanes, which is why they're starting to rotate him around in, hey, we can start to play towards Yike with him, well, get Void Grub's moment, but immediately then start to push mid with the LeBlanc, lean that pressure in towards top side, take top tower, rotate them back to bot as Dragon's about to spawn. Fantastic, we can work off of that as well. So this is where you're just going to keep playing back and forth around the map based on what objectives are coming up. So with Dragon being more valuable,
Right.
hang on.
Jun going for the all-in. Noah on the way down. Jun dies in the process. Noah doesn't have reliable CC to stop the E outs. Broken Blade going to flash to safety. was respecting the delay on last embrace to come through. Bit of a question mark. Jun and Noah so good yesterday, but just a little bit off today, it feels like.
Yeah, it was only a 3-level difference, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's level 8. Like, yes, Jun has been farming, but don't... One of you has a Sunfire Cape and is level 11. Razork might make the same mistake. You cannot kill.
Oh, no.
Oh my gosh, just the Boo Saga unfolding live on our stage. How many people are they going to throw into Broken Blade? G2 rinsing, repeat on the bot side dives here.
It's the BB base. I mean, look how pink and luxurious he is. How could you try and turn that down?
Like
he's just sitting there, you know? Exactly.
He's so non-menacing, and then he kills, almost solo kills enemy jungle and support. Oscar, nice plays here. Does pick the wrong caps, though. So won't have the kill. Caps just standing back to clear the wave out here. So decent lane assignments coming in from G2. Oscar has just not been able to get involved thus far, and it's crushing because in the team fight, in terms of what Poppy can bring, you know it's a lot, but just hasn't had the opportunity at all.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Noah is now so far behind that when you look at impact in team fights, it's very much going to be Hansama who takes over in that regard. So you're kind of reliant now on Humanoid to step up and be the main carry. And yes, he's been farming fine, but he hasn't really been in a position to get a lot of gold this game.
And I think Fnatic are no strangers to this position. Noah's had good games, and he's had kind of mediocre games. And Humanoid has been really the rock in terms of carry potential for this team. Razork, obviously, a guy who's going to set it up. Oscar backing up. Everyone's had their moments, but I think when you look at the most reliable player this split, it really has been Humanoid. So once again, that pressure falling onto his shoulders. We'll just have to see what the Azir can do. It's going to be tricky against this composition. You know, a lot of short-range, highly mobile champions who can get on top of you. As Hansama stepping in, the hook going a little bit wide. Big chunk, big trade. Razork now coming in to cover. When becomes lightning, will not connect. Wave going in. This could be bad. Razork might find himself in trouble very quickly. Hansama does a lot of damage. Humanoid jumping into the mid lane. Razork left all on his lonesome to try to 1v1 Hansama, but it's not a 1v1. It's a 4v1, and G2 win those.
And G2 are just much more willing to teleport in Broken Blade for these fights. Again, they're playing it that bot side. You're overextending, and Humanoid now going to feel the brunt of it.
Calling coming in. Ooh, Zach not quite able to get the additional auto attack after the Q. Force Humanoid back. Run. Oscar gets the TP. It's going to take a lot of time to kill Oscar. Fnatic maybe hoping for a counterplay here. Oscar will back away. G2 is going to be happy with the Herald. And really total control for G2. Yes, they've traded on Drakes. Yes, it's only 3 grub buff, but grabbing the Herald now as well will only further extend their gold lead. Right now it's teetering around 4K. It'll be over 4K once they're able to crash that in.
And this is supposed to be the part of G2 where you're less scared of them. Like, the early game has not been their strong suit when you look over the course of winter. They've had a very, well, I was going to say few, but they've had a lot of fumbles in the early stages. You even got to see it yesterday in Game 1 versus Fnatic. This time, though, this has been significantly cleaner. Like, TPs from BB to look for dives. They've had a clear-cut game plan of let's get Hansama ahead. It's worked out fantastically. And now the fact that you're getting all this vision that in a moment will be restocked in towards River, just allows Hansama to play very aggressive on mid-wave once again. And if you do try and go for something, it just feels like G2 are always set up to play around this Lucian significantly better than Fnatic are.
Yep, another sidestepped hook. And immediately you can see Fnatic just have to back away. Hansama has more than enough damage to kill both Noah and Jun if left alone.
He does have to be careful, though, because like you actually need to get your vision in River established before you try and go for these plays, because you can see there, right? Razork is waiting in the wings. If you overextend there and suddenly Jun ultimate in on top of you, that's your flash, your barrier, and then you've got Razork who can still get the CC to follow up. So you do need to take it slow and wait till you actually have push on side lanes before you go. So Hans, look at side lanes. There's no pressure on side lanes. You cannot play that far up because this is what Fnatic are waiting for you, that make that one fumble.
Hansama stepping in, getting a little bit of poke here. And important to have that level of discipline. That's part of the reason why we've seen Lucian fall apart for so many teams. It's not necessarily about individual prowess on the pick. It's that you need to respect, and your entire team needs to be aware of what you need. And in that case, it's information on where Xin is. Now that they loosely know that Razork is on top side, frees him up to push forward. They can see Poppy in the side lane as well. There aren't going to be too many members. Nice interrupt coming in from BB, but this is just a classic wet noodle fight. Difference, of course, being Zach has much better sustain than Poppy, so there's just really no kill pressure.
Yeah, and again, this is more of a case of BB getting control by Babe to push the wave super easily and having a ton of escapes. if he ever gets jumped on that top side. But for G2, it's like this is kind of what you needed, right? Shove in bot with caps, make sure you can get that vision control that we just talked about. Dragon is going to be up in just under a minute's time, so you've got the chance to make sure you can play in towards that. 1955 is going to be the time of that Mountain Drake, so now you've got that chance to well, get vision on bot side of the map and allow Hansama to play aggressive on the mid wave.
Hansama, big chunk of damage. Was first strike up and available? It was plus 62. Economics, baby. Lucian is just out here making money, making it easy. That said, Caps just kind of lurking near the side lane, has Voltaic Cyclosword, so second Energizer item completed. And this is where Humanoid's life gets annoying. In a team fight, he can do so much work. In a side lane, he's playing against one of the least interactive champions in the game. Big chunk from Hansama again. Fnatic have been here. They played against a poke comp yesterday. You know, they played the do-or-die dodgeball, but now Lucian is kind of the fake poke champion. He eases in, he uses all of his spells, he walks away, and if you're not ready to force a fight right then and there, it's just free poke.
BB and Oscar walking hand in hand through the jungle now.
Knockback.
Straight to the wave. Oh, that was nice of him. Make sure he got the CS, you know?
Yeah, actually,
top lane is going to look out for each other right here.
I know there are pings in the mid lane. Let's not go there. Let's just watch these two fight each other.
Nearly got him there.
Nearly got him. Okay, never mind. All right, we're not going to watch that anymore. Jun. Okay, Bubble there. Mickey just going to walk away. And Caps. Ready to complete the highly interactive play pattern of Energizer LeBlanc. Leap in. Get a slightly negative trade. Leap out.
It'll come back, though. Fleet footwork, you know? It all works out. Humanoid also has fleet footwork, so it makes it a little bit less valuable, but still, it'll be all right. I think, though, you will see G2 go for the resets here. I want to see G2, though, like, actually getting control of a river, because while it has been working out for them thus far, the game is stalling out. And for Fnatic's side, that's perfect, because you get Noah, who's going to get to scale towards infinity. Human are going to get these items as well. And the biggest problem is that Hansama isn't able to really follow up on a lot of the plays he's making in mid, because you just don't have the vision. Now, he has got some poke damage on mid, and with the Rift Tower coming, the collapse is already coming through for G2 on this mid lane turret, and this should break it, but Fnatic's in the area.
You know what you got to do, Berlin. Oh, Razork, auto back to the tower, getting pulled back. Bubble there as well, but the damage is not coming through in time. The ulti fading away at the last possible second, and just barely. Hansama was able to grab the kill. The second charge coming in. Two back-to-back, one tower down. Fnatic, no counterplay available. Humanoid not around.
Humanoid went for the reset. And with that now, jungler dead. G2 feel like they can go for this objective. I don't know. This is still quite risky. Yes, your jungler is down, but you've got great engage.
Crazy amount of damage here. Yes, Lucian Nami together is going to be decent, but they need to be ready to force a fight. Caps on the flank. Oscar finally going to get to leverage some of the power of this Poppy if given the opportunity. His ulti is up and available. G2 starting to play back. Flank coming in from Caps. Humanoid distracted for a brief moment. Broken Blade able to proc the Q. 3K getting lower. Lucian knocked out of the pit. It's time for Fnatic to fight if they can find the angle. But Humanoid just getting danced on by Caps. And here comes Hansama with the damage to finish the job. Mickey now flashing out to safety. Objective getting lower and lower. Don't forget about the Baron. Yanks just soloing it. It's absolute chaos in the pit. It's a fight on so many fronts. And Fnatic are just getting danced around as G2 obliterate them in the fight. That's support down. That's Baron down. Mid down. Fnatic spend everything and get absolutely nothing in return.
Fnatic are down after that. Oscarden limping away, the final member of Fnatic, but a fight that never really became a fight. It was Humanoid versus several members of G2 off the side. Caps does a great job of separating them out, but because you've got Jun and Noah that are in this pit, no one's able to really help Humanoid against Caps. Caps being a nuisance, and then with the repositioning that ends up happening of Hansama, Humanoid's just on his own against the two carries. And again, Noah, yes, you're in a fine spot to just sit there in the back of the pit, but you're not really hitting onto the core members, and there's no real damage that's left because Humanoid, he's just trying to put everything into Caps, who's dancing around him.
Yeah, I mean, Humanoid burned all his cooldowns just trying to go even with Caps, but he was the only source of damage with Razor dead. Noah's okay at this point. He's got a decent number of souls, he's got a single item, he's got Bloodsong, but it's not enough to carry the damage burden for the remaining members of the team.
Especially when you're a lethality Senna against Zac and Maokai. Like, mate, come on. Like, it's a frozen heart there.
They bought Anathema's chains, and they're just going to strap it to Humanoid because they know Noah's a broke boy. And there's nothing he can do about it. He can't farm. He just needs souls and time.
He has a Bloodsong and a dream. You know?
Like, when the soul count hits, like, 140, we can start talking about Senna as a carry. But until then, it's just not enough damage. Hansama didn't have first strike up, it looks like, so won't be able to make money off of full ulting Oscar in it. And this is so tough. I mean, just look at the discrepancy between the 80 carries is exacerbated by the fact that Noah is, of course, not farming, not CSing, but that's still 5K in the bot lane. Mickey's ahead of the Nautilus, who's been farming the entire game. He has a 6-stack Medjais as a fish. When do you see this? Why would you do this? It's so greedy, but Mickey's has complete faith in his ability not to die again.
I mean, it's 5.5K, but don't worry, the Nautilus losing by 200 gold is making up for it. It's all fun. I mean, at this stage, I think this is a case of, look, there wasn't a huge amount that we can do from this position as Fnatic. We tried to bring out the Senna, but the Lucian is being able to get way too much control, and having Caps with the AD LeBlanc getting a ton of control up against the Azir as well.
Yep.
Azir just never able to try and play for it.
Well, and a lot just goes back to that first tower dive. You have a much closer game until G2 are able to pull out that first tower dive on the bottom side. Part of that is Broken Blade has a TP advantage, just like a minute difference in the timer between him and Oscar at that point in the game. But yeah, G2 clearly a team that know how to leverage the power of this Lucian, and I think definitely amplified by this AD LeBlanc, because Humanoid just has not been able to participate in the game. Caps is just constantly threatening specifically him, and mostly him alone.
But that's the thing is, like, if you try to put Oscar in against Caps, Caps just takes turrets. Like, he just pushes too effectively. He's able to whittle Oscar and health bar down, and you just never really get to play against them. And even if you end up underneath the tower, I mean, Caps is just going to take the turret. So Humanoid by default has to go against Caps, and you can even see then it's still just working out in this AD LeBlanc's favor. And this is the power of the AD LeBlanc, right? This is why we see it still picked by certain teams who are able to leverage it inside lanes, like leverage the map control it gives you. And now we're getting to see Caps kind of entering that zone as well.
And I think it's one of those picks where not only do you have to be proficient on it as an individual, but your team has to understand that, you know, the fundamental identity of the champion changes. You don't do a lot of damage on this version of AD LeBlanc. It's decent, but your team needs to play around kind of the disruption that you're going to bring to the table. Because it's not, you know, Triforce static when that build was super, super broken and you could play it in every single lane. It's still good. It's good damage, but it's never going to compare to AP LeBlanc in the same way.
Yeah, it's just a case of you can't be ignored, right? When it comes into team fights like we saw it at that Baron fight, where Humanoid just couldn't ignore Caps as he was poking him down, and that's where it gets very, very annoying, because it's how do I then split my damage? The whole front to back concept goes out the window.
Yep.
But Caps, now going to see if you can find anyone else.
Flank coming in for Caps, can just go right back, has caught the Nautilus ultimate, it looks like. Retreat now coming in, Oscar in the midst of the entire team, knocking both tanks out. This is an opportunity for Fnatic. Continuing to step forward, Coling going down, but Yike and BB are right back into the middle of the fight. The knockback into the tower is big though. Broken Blade trying to let's bounce out to safety. Nice bubble coming in, hitting Jun off to the side. Eyes on Han Sama. He is the damage for G2, but he can't get through the line quite fast enough. Caps continuing to poke, continuing to be a nuisance. Humanoid standing strong. Han Sama stepping up and stepping out just as quick. G2 overplaying their hand a little bit here. Losing so many summoner spells in this exchange, just trying to push a little bit deeper on the top side of the map.
G2 just saying, sorry, didn't want to be here, didn't want to interrupt, sir. We're backing on up. Fnatic doing a really good job there playing under turret, especially Razor with that ultimate, managing to catch BB as he went underneath the tower, sends him deep. Now, BB still has his passive available. For anyone who doesn't know, if you look at the health bar, there's a little like Guardian Angel symbol above his, when you see him on screen, there's a little Guardian Angel symbol above his level. That'll tell you if he has his passive up or not.
Nice.
But yeah, he would have been able to possibly get out, but if he went down, it would have been G2 having to commit to get him out, and with the way Fnatic were playing that fight, I think it might have gone Fnatic's favor.
Oscar, have to be a bit careful here until someone else comes in to back him up. Movement speed steroid from Mickey, gonna make sure Han Sama can get out safely. But yeah, when we take stock of that fight, you lose flash from Han Sama, flash from Yike, flash from BB, in exchange for flash from Oscar and flash from Jun. So I would overall say that's a very positive trade for Fnatic. Still hard to convert that into anything else, but if they find a fight in the next few minutes, maybe they can get something done. Wave going in, not going to connect onto anybody, however. Just giving G2 a bit more space in the mid lane. Baron around the corner, 9 seconds till that respawns. And of course, it is also sole point for G2. Something that has to be respected. Fnatic, it would seem, not really comfortable to come contest here. We'll have to find a way through Caps to get to this objective.
Trying to just go through all the vision that I've set up. That's TP coming through, but I don't really know if...
Yike. G2 ready to start a fight. Eyes on Broken Blade off to the side. Oscar coming in, not going to be able to interrupt the dash coming in from Broken Blade, but Broken Blade now on the backline without a whole lot of support, just disrupting here. The damage coming from the Zac is pretty decent, actually, but the rest of the team now covering. Coling from across the wall, finding the first kill. Broken Blade still standing. Broken Blade still has the passive. You already talked about it, Dagna, and he's still standing. Caps leaping in, one energized auto just to harass, and the most important man, the president that everyone on G2 is trying to protect, Han Sama, is still standing. That's a triple. They want to give him the penta. He's got 4 Do they want the bear or do they want the glory? That's the question, and it's G2. You know they want the glory. Oscar's been spotted. They might just have to settle for an inhibitor tower, but it's a clean fight from G2.
They're trying desperately to keep this one going. They see it, but I think they're just going to back away, be happy with the turrets. They know it's playoffs. They know this is serious business, and a quadra kill, 10-0-5 for Hansama on this Lucian. G2 are smurfing on this pick.
And this is exactly what everyone thinks to themselves in their head when they lock this pick in. This is what people are seeing in scrims, and we're finally seeing it on stage. Potentially the second Lucian win in the LEC. Feeling pretty much like this one is done and dusted.
So a huge amount of this fight as we come into the replay is based on caps. So I want you to keep your eyes as he starts to get aggressive onto the backline onto Humanoid, manages to chunk out Humanoid and watch the ult. Manages to again dodge away from it, but because that's all used, it means that then Broken Blade has access there to know he can just hop onto Humanoid without having to take much damage. Hansama comes in with the long-range culling as well, and it's just this nuisance that Caps and BB are able to create, this like long-range damage-dealing front line. Just causes so many issues. And as Fnatic, yes, they get Caps in the back line, but the damage has already been done by G2.
Fnatic now just trying to deathball together, which I think makes a lot of sense. If they let themselves be split up at all, Caps will just continue to wreak havoc. Dragging up at his soul for G2 if they're able to secure it, but Fnatic has to be careful here. Caps continuing to try to find these angles on the flank. Yike waiting over the wall as well. Create a lot of space with the Maokai ultimate. His flash almost up and available as well, similar for Hansama. Humanoid stepping forward, though. That is not where you want to be, and now no one's just going to get deleted. If they don't instantly kill the Lucian, the fight's over, and well, the fight's over. They might not be dead yet, but they're going to find out very soon that they are. The chase now coming in from Caps, from Hansama. Razork, all he can do is run. Humanoid caught around the dragon, costing Fnatic.
He gets caught, Noah gets caught with Caps on a great flank opportunity as well. Oscarinen will fall this time around to the fight. Razork is not long for the world. And honestly, Fnatic don't look long for this game as well. That's the wave. And G2 want to finish off it.
And what a frustrating game for Fnatic. They're just getting danced on by this LeBlanc. So many of these fights, they cannot find a single fight that they want front to back. 5v5, G2 will not give them that angle. And credit to G2, we talked about it. Mid-game's been looking stronger. Early game been a little bit inconsistent, but from start to finish, G2 have been in control of this one. They make it look good in game one. Putting Lucian back on the map, the second win in LEC. Hansama taking over. G2, no surprise, playing for kills here. They can hit the Nexus, but they like hitting champions a lot more. G2 taking game one.
And on an incredibly difficult to execute composition as well, they find a huge amount of success in the early game. We'll have to see if they can keep it up for game two, but before that, we'll be taking a very short break.